for the economy, which of course it's true, but the secondary benefit, I think, is even more important than the first one. The first one is obvious, right? Tourists are coming to any land, they bring money with them, they move the economy wheels. But the other thing that I'm talking about is how Israel is perceived in the world, because all of you, whether you are aware of it or not at the moment, all of you are going to be sort of ambassadors to Israel, right? Because you've been here, you know, right? You don't just feed on what the media gives to you, but you actually have been here and you've seen it for yourself. So you are going to be the second wave of influence, right, on people. If they consult with you, whether it's safe to come here, tell them, yes, this land is protected by God. Okay, amen to that. Okay, so we are approaching sea level. I told you we have descended from about 700 meters above sea level. And if you take a look to the right-hand side, there's going to be a blue line just by the side of the road, right here in front of me now. The blue line is indicating sea level. Sea level. Yes. So this is sea level. So now everybody hold your breath. We're diving. Hold your breath. We're under water now. Okay. So we have another 400 meters down to go. And look at the beautiful view of the desert. The desert is just majestic. Some people mistakenly think there's no life in the desert.
No, there's life.
There's so much going on in the desert. It doesn't happen, at plain sight. Sometimes at night when the temperatures drop, there's a lot of life in the desert. Animals know where there's water, so they all gather to drink. That's why in many of the national parks in the desert, one must not visit, cannot go in after 5 p.m. because that will disturb the cycle of the mating and the cycle of nourishment for the animals. They're waiting for, sunset, when it cools down a bit and they all go and drink. We're going to have a few more lines of indication, like minus 150, minus 300. It's nice to kind of watch and follow. And I'm reminding you, this land was a part of the plot of land that was promised to Judah. That's why it's called the Judean desert. Jacob had 12 sons. 12 sons and one daughter. And out of the 12 sons emerged the 12 tribes. Not one for one, because Joseph, for example, two of his sons they became two separate tribes, Ephraim and Menashe. And the Levites never got a plot of land because they served at the temple. But anyway, let's say 12 sons, 12 tribes. So each of them got a separate plot of land. And the tribe of Judah, who was the largest of all the tribes, got to have the Judean desert. And of course, including the cities of Hebron and Bethlehem. Two major cities nowadays. So let me share something personal about my family. So you know how Pasadom, אני בלי המשקפיים. כן. 150 below sea level on the left hand side, 150, yes. So my family comes from Yemen. Yemen, you know how we are actually living in, we are all fulfilling prophecy, because God promised that He was going to collect the children of Israel from all over after the big exile, after the Romans destroyed the temple in the year 70, and even before that, when the Assyrians destroyed the kingdom of Israel, the northern kingdom of Israel, and the 10 lost tribes. So the process of beginning to gather, to collect So my family comes from Yemen. You know, there are Jews all over the world. My family comes from that part of the land. And the Jews in Yemen, by the way, Jericho on the left-hand side from a different angle now. Look how big it is. And the plantations for palm day trees, also on the left-hand side. So we're going to enter Jericho. We're going to enter Jericho now. So according to the Jewish tradition, the Jewish people in Yemen didn't have to suffer the destruction of the Second Temple in person because they were not here. They were sent on an exile when the Babylonians destroyed the first temple, the temple that King Solomon built. King Solomon, son of King David, of course. So they went on an exile from which they never returned. They stayed in Yemen for all those years. They knew of the temple in Jerusalem, and they came 3 times a year to make offerings, but they went back to Yemen. They lived in Yemen, right? So they never got to experience firsthand the destruction of the Second Temple. So this is the story of the Yemeni Jews. And eventually, almost the entire community of Yemeni Jews came to Israel, about 50,000 people. Only 2 families remained in Yemen, 50 people. And if you know, the situation in Yemen is very, very dire at the moment, and so we are all praying for them. We are in dates land. Yes, those are dates, different sizes, different ages, some young ones on the left-hand side. And look at this amazing agriculture. On the right-hand side, I can see some pomegranate trees. The first line are pomegranate trees, and right after them are the dates. And if you look at the top of the dates, you see they start as a green fruit hanging on those yellow branches. Can you see?
Yeah.
And then when they are ripe, when they're ready to be eaten, then they turn yellow gold, but they're still hard. And then you can pick them and leave them in the freezer for a few days, and then they'll soften. But if you do the natural process, just pick them and let them dry, they'll become brown and soft. Now there are many different kinds of dates. They're all yummy, they're all good, and they're very good with they're full of nutrients that are especially good for our brains, because it's the good sugar, and our brain needs good sugar. So I think maybe the king of dates, as it's called, is majhul. It's the big, can be like really huge, big date, soft and very, very juicy. So if you squeeze it a little bit, some golden liquid comes out of it. And the best of those dates are exported to Europe, wrapped individually, and they are sold for like €1 a piece. But I'm talking about like excellent AAA quality. There are other kinds of dates. Dek El Nur, for example, it's dry, like really dry. You squeeze it, nothing comes out, and it's more chewy. So for people who like to kind of chew, it's not hard, but it's chewy. So here is the red sign saying this road leads to Area A, which is designated for Palestinians only. Yes. Palestinians, tourists, and tour guides, of course. Yes. And for many Palestinians, to spend the winter in Jericho is a delight, because the winters here are very mild. Remember, we're in the desert. So instead of freezing in Jerusalem or Bethlehem when it's sometimes snowy there, they just come down to Jericho and enjoy 20 degrees Celsius weather in the middle of January, which is fabulous. Here are some olive trees on the right-hand side, ready to be relocated.
niya si Jesus ang dumaan, pataas.
Ay, oo nga pala.
Tourist information.
Yes, so here we are. We're in the modern city of Jericho,
Jericho.
and we are going to make our way to the sycamore tree. We're not going to leave the bus. We are going to take a picture from the bus. Yes, we are time cautious today. And so just a few words about this particular sycamore tree, who's a direct descendant of the sycamore tree that used to be here 2,000 years ago. You know how trees, when they feel like they're about to die, they start bringing off offshoots. And so the tree can continue like that by bringing offshoots.
Hindi pala ba?
Ito yung bababa. Ito yung bababa.
Nakita mo si Jesus. Sa Jerusalem meron fig tree.
Pwede po mamuha ng dahon ng sycamore.
Dadaanan na.
Jericho.
I'm going to
Sycamore or hindi daw.
Hindi na daw.
Baka umakit pa daw tayo.
Huwag na, baka makita pa tayo.
Hindi tayo kasya lahat.
Pakikit din pa yung sila.
Dadaanan.
Cherry. Cherry.
Very famous kasi. Siyempre tayo po. Palm dates. So yung ginamit kay Jesus sa triumphal entry, palm dates siguro ang ginamit. Yung leaves na
downtown Jericho.
downtown Jericho.
Downtown Cherry. Downtown Cherry. May shawarma pala.
Kape o Jericho kape.
Jericho.
Sabihin, pinaka-city.
Wow, yun ang mga brand.
Old city.
Mapapansin niyo po malalabo ang aming mga video sa loob ng sasakyan kasi po puro alikabok. Bawal maglinis. Sabat din.
Palengke. Palengke siguro.
Ramuana. Parang Palaw.
Palengke.
Jericho.
Pero
Municipal.
Jericho, municipal.
Jericho Municipal.
Balite.
May Coca-Cola na nun.
Jericho.
Spa.
Hisham Palace. Sycamore tree. Ayun.
So this is, yes, on the right hand side, this old tree is the sycamore tree.
Ito.
And no.
Is
Just
this the one,
picture
right?
from the car, from the
This
bus.
the one.
And we're going to read the relevant
Daming
scripture.
bunga.
Okay, this is the scripture of the sycamore tree. Luke 19, 1 to 10. Zacchaeus, the tax collector. Verse 19, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. And so he ran ahead, climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. And so he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. And all the people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay it back 4 times the amount. And Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. That is the reading for today. God bless us all.
God, sycamore tree.
Dito, yan. Yan. Nung kami nun kasi bumaba kami, dyan kami nagpa-picture sa baba.
Buti buhay pa ano siya. Hanggang ngayon, no?
Yes. Sycamore tree.
Yan ang pinaka-ano.
Maraming sycamore tree, pero ito yung
So, okay, here, question. How old is this sycamore tree? This sycamore tree is probably 300 years old,
Oh.
400 years old. However, you know, when you look at a tree, any tree, not just this tree, we see the trunk, we see the branches, we see the foliage. We don't see the roots. But the root system of any tree is actually the largest part of the tree, right? Like the iceberg. So, similarly, all trees, what happens is, because the part that is exposed to the sun and the elements is outside, right, above ground, at some point it begins to disintegrate, right? And then the tree brings out of the root system a new offshoot. And in due time, this will become the main trunk. So if we had like a speed camera, you'd see the tree dies and, like, you know, comes back to life several times. And so this is said to be the same root system. So when we say this is the sycamore tree that Jesus saw, right, or that Zacchaeus was climbing on, it's not what we see now, but it's related. It's the same organism because of the same root system. In this area, yes. Yes. And next we are going to approach Mount Temptation. Mount Temptation, or as we call it in Hebrew, Karantal. Karantal is from the word quarantine. Quarantine comes from 40. Yes? So Karantal or Mount Temptation relate to the 40 days that Jesus spent on the mountain, and when the devil tried to tempt him. Yes? So we're going to see the view of the mountain. We're not going to go on the mountain. There's a monastery up there. Once we pass this tree, you're going to be able to see it on the top. And there's a cable car that goes up the mountain. But we are not going to do that today. On the left-hand side of the bus, you can see the white monastery. It's a Greek Orthodox monastery on the top of that mountain there.
Cable car kasi. Pumasok kami sa monastery. Mahal kasi yung bayan. Where Jesus was tempted,
Ay, ito.
fasting for
Yan siya.
20 and for 40 days. Mataas na yun.
Mataas nga.
Kaso pinoffer siya ng Catholic monastery.
So first we are going to gather at the point where we can see Mount Temptation and read there the verses from the scriptures about Jesus is tested in the wilderness, okay? Tested in the wilderness refers to this area right here in Mount Temptation. And so after we do that, we are going to have some shopping time in the shop that is really nearby. But please, let's first go to the view and listen to the verses, and after that we'll do the shopping.
Pumunta kami mismo dun sa loob eh. Tapos dun sa ministry, kinoffer siya na yung parang kwenta. Dun siya. Just tanong mo talaga. Stay ako dito ng 3 months. Wala. Hindi tayo pumunta. 2015. Mahal kasi. Kasi yung entrance, hindi kakayanin. Very tempting dito.
Wow, ang ganda sa
On
taas.
the right hand side there's yes, a very good very good cream shop. I buy here as well, relatively cheap. And on the left hand side,
Very
this is where we'll do the shopping. But first, let's go stand maybe over here on
Ayan po yun.
Ayan, yung mga
Ah, yun.
yun, doon ang
Okay.
table.
Yes, Mount Temptation is right in front of us on the right hand side. Mount Temptation, yes.
May cable first. Doon kami nagpa-picture doon sa monastery. Nandun yung parang position ni Jesus talaga siya. Mantenem siya.
And here they come with a beautiful hospitality. See, they're coming to offer dates and figs. You're welcome to take, don't be shy.
Shy. Okay.